It is my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce Professor Vukosi Marivate, who's a professor of computer science at the University of Pretoria, and he also holds the APSA Chair of Data Science. He's an accomplished individual who was appointed by the Secretary General, if I'm correct, as one of the experts to serve on the United Nations Independent International Scientific Panel on Artificial Intelligence. This is to check how many of you listened to the State President when he was announced as one of the recipients of the Order of Mapungubwe Silver. He specializes in developing machine learning and artificial intelligence methods to extract insights from data, with a particular focus on the intersection of ML, AI, and natural language processing. He is a co-founder of Lilaba AI, an African startup focused on AI for Africans by Africans.
And in my space, yes, I work on language, but what's maybe to add on, outside the UN Independent Scientific Panel, I'm also at Smart Africa on the African AI Council, board member on Partnership on AI, and the Global Future Councils on Data Futures in these spaces. Now, yes, you can say I am all of those things, but what's important is that I'm an African researcher who works on making language infrastructure. My personal mission is to make sure that Africans have agency during these ongoing AI revolutions. So what's artificial intelligence? You have a machine, it exists in some environment, it takes action to achieve a goal. So our humble robot or traffic light is a machine that is on a corner of a street. It can go from green, orange to red, and the goal is to control traffic. That is AI, by definition. Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. I know it tends to be interchangeably used, where you have a machine that learns patterns from some data that it's actually reading in. You now give the machine the X-ray plus the tag of what's inside, and the machine learns the patterns, and then in the future, you can just give it the picture, and then it predicts what might be the malady. That's machine learning. The thing is, for most of you, when we've said artificial intelligence, in your head, you're thinking about those chatbots. So these are large language models. They have to learn a pattern. You give them a large data set of text, typically at the beginning, and then you remove a word, and you ask it to predict what's the word that you removed. So it's predictive text, right, on your phone that just fills in. But then that's how actually they get trained first. AI is not something that starts in 2022 at the end of the year with the release of one of these large language models into the public. Actually, we've been in exponential growth for over 2 decades. And if you look at this, if you are in May 2016, there were about 568 papers per month. Today, we are over, I'm pretty sure we're getting close to 10,000 papers a month that are showing up on arXiv. That's the activity on AI research across the world. One being because computing has become cheaper, there was data that was becoming easier to access, and then the algorithms then matching that availability. On the other side, if we look at AI diffusion, let's say in South Africa, it's how many people between 15 and 64 who are using some of this generative AI. So a lot of people are using these systems. One, can these systems speak our language? So in 2023, one of our researchers at my other hat at the lab, collaborators, she put in this very simple request at that time. Count from 1 to 10 in isiZulu. These are things where, sure, isiZulu, about 25% of our country speaks it, and as such, just imagine now for a language like isiNdebele, Siswati, what the experience of our citizens is in these systems. Then there's Swahili, 80,000. There's Yoruba, 33,000. There's isiZulu, 11,000. In the top 10, Egyptian Arabic is the only one on the continent. And then Sesotho, less than 1,000. And up to a few years ago, until DSTI invested in the SAWIC program, there was not even one article isiNdebele. I think now they're reaching 200. So that shows you the scale of the challenge. And then most of the world's languages, 80%, are either scraping by or they're going to be left behind. An important thing for everybody to leave with, number one, is we all must wake up. African AI is not going to build itself. We are going to have to get our hands dirty and do it. Technology is a multiplicative force. It does not, technology by itself is not, does not improve lives. Right, and this is an important thing because there's a lot of promises that are being made that AI will just improve lives. Doesn't work that way, it never has. Right? So what we must do is that it will amplify existing human intent and institutional capacity. And if the underlying foundations are weak, what is going to happen is that it will also amplify inequalities. Where now there are winners who are taking all of the spoils of these revolutions, and then everybody is left behind. And Africa needs to move away from being a consumer. Being told that, no, just wait, you will just get it from us, and then you don't need to build is not, we cannot really do that. So we need to build differently because we know that technology must be deeply rooted in our context, languages, and values. Number two, compared to most, a lot of regions in the world, actually, where you think about universities, big companies, or with major regulation frameworks, Africa's AI ecosystem, I can tell you for the last 11 or 12 years, has been dominated by grassroots movements and civic organizations. So if you're only looking at universities or the private sector or the public sector, you are missing the picture. We started this in 2019, Masakhane Research Foundation, and it was launched to make sure we now put African languages on the natural language processing and AI kind of map. It has 3,000 plus members. It has more than 150 languages. Africa has 2,000 to 3,000 languages. Many papers as a distributed network. You just join and say, I want to work on this participatory way. The first paper, which is this participatory paper, ended up winning the first Wikimedia Research Award from Jimmy Wales, the founder of Wikipedia, for democratizing the internet. Again, if you're looking at universities, big corporations, or the public sector, you're missing the picture. Last year we were in Kigali, in Rwanda, almost 1,300 participants, and one of the things that's very unique about this movement, almost 40% being women. So at University of Pretoria, we collected 3,000 hours of isiZulu, isiXhosa, isiTswana, Setswana, Sotho, Chivenda, and isiNdebele data. This is to enable speech recognition systems where you can speak in Chivenda and then it transcribes for you. Right now, that data is available. South Africans, if you live anywhere, you don't just speak purely in one language, you mix it. How then do these systems actually hear you and understand what you're trying to say? And this is then to keep on adding, where now, this year, we are focused on releasing a Pan-African large language model by the end of the year. So we want to build local AI for Africa, and then take these learnings and share them also with the world and expand into other areas. Going back to the minister's speech, the US investment in research is over 3%. Singapore, just as another country, over 2%. Any African country, less than 1%. 1% is the African Union's benchmark. No African country meets it. And South Africa, for ourselves, we're not using that 1%, we are aiming for 1.5%. As per the NDP, but we are only at 0.61. So we have to triple how much we spend on research in general, not just AI. Right? And this is going to require massive private sector coming into this space. It is not the public purse cannot take that. There's more money in African AI than Africa can absorb. Unfortunately, this money is not coming from Africa. Because the capacity and the capability is it's not a lot of people. As I say, I don't want one of me. I want 1,000 of me. right, in this area. We need to increase opportunities for professionals and students, developing and supporting faculty and academics, and we need to choose our own directions. We should not be dictated to or saying, this is what you must optimize. Look at your local situation and say, this is what we want out of these things, and then we must do these local R&D investments. We assume, because most of us now live in the metropolitan areas, that there's Wi-Fi all everywhere. So what you have to do is design for it. Yes, infrastructure should come, but at the same time, as we said, if we want to say these gains of these technologies are going to be met, we need to work within what we have and building innovation in that space. Question about children learning. Again, AI is not going to solve our education. Just saying it is going to do it without doing the work of figuring out what are the things you can amplify within the education system that can improve teaching. It then is going to be that students must then understand the parts of like, oh, this system can supercharge your learning, but you need to know what you're trying to learn and scaffold those things. For many of these systems, as soon as you sign up, the terms of service either then tell you directly that whatever you upload, they use in whichever way. And that's a part that, on the side of policymaking and regulation, that can change. One country might take voice as almost being a biometric, and as such, it is treated with, if you are processing voice, it must be done within the borders of that country, within a data center, in those spaces. So really our vision is where we want an Africa where innovation in data science AI shapes a better future for the whole continent. And what we want to get to is that the current challenges is because the talent and ideas in a lot of Africa are constrained by access, mentorship, and institutional support. So how do we work to solve for these?